have an anxious part of me that wondered if I would be able to make decent videos, or if this idea of bread therapy, something to watch, something to listen to, is even a good setup. At times, this part has almost paralyzed me. It took 7 months of having this idea and 2 years of wanting to make a YouTube channel to actually record and post my first video. Today we're making a pumpkin sourdough loaf and covering the basics of internal family systems, or IFS. If you've used phrasing like, a part of me wonders if, you may already be aware of an idea that we have parts to ourselves. IFS developer Dick Schwartz capitalized on this idea of parts and worked within a family systems theory to harmonize parts to work together in our quote-unquote internal family. IFS is based on the idea that we have a core, capital S, self. This self can be characterized by the 8 C's: compassion, curiosity, calm, connectedness, creativity, confidence, courage, and clarity. The idea is that we have different parts that are broken down into protector parts that can be managers or firefighters and exiles. The belief is these parts are not bad, but wounded, or operating out of turn because the self is not present or because they had to, in order to survive a past trauma or wound. It's like your anxiety part is driving the car in your life. These parts don't necessarily want to operate in these roles, but feel like they have to, because they're stuck in time from those wounds and don't know any differently. Dick Schwartz even has a book called No Bad Parts that I would recommend if you're interested in learning more after this video. Link is in the description. In IFS, there's a key belief that parts can become burdened from outside experiences or influences like a trauma or attachment wound. These burdens may show up in the form of extreme beliefs or extreme emotions or reactions. So the goal of IFS is to eventually unburden these parts and allow them to function differently rather than get rid of them altogether. For example, someone who is often told don't cry when they're experiencing really hard emotions may have a part of them that now shuts down emotions. This part of that person takes on an extreme belief that emotions are not okay or safe, especially sadness. There's a part that was wounded and cannot experience sadness, and a protector that shuts down any sense of sadness to protect from further harm or wounding. Rather than assume this shutdown part of me is the negative thing I need to fight, I need to assume the burden or the wound is the negative thing that needs healed. Healing this wounded part may look like the use of imagination to go back and revisit some of these negative memories, as I discussed in the video on healing by imagination. So again, no bad parts, just wounded parts trying to find a sense of control. The goal is getting along with your parts from the true self, rather than fight them or ignore them. Managers are protectors that emphasize more control and planning ahead. The example I shared from myself might be an anxious performer part that desires to perform well and not be rejected. So anxiety comes out, and it delayed me from making any moves on starting a YouTube channel, thus protecting me from any criticism or disappointment if this whole thing flops. Working with this manager part may uncover or help me discover a wounded part that I can attempt to try and heal. Firefighters are more reactive. If you imagine a firefighter coming to put out a fire as soon as possible, compare that to a protector part that wants to squash any hard emotions or distract from them and quote-unquote put out that fire that just came up. These parts are more reactive and could include seeking out things like alcohol, drugs, food, or self-harm. Exiles are the younger, more vulnerable parts that are especially carrying the burdens of shame, betrayal, or rejection from past wounds that may need healing. If you're looking to heal from trauma, IFS may be a helpful avenue to seek out help. But the idea of having parts and attempting to function more from the 8 C's of self can be helpful for basic self-development. So see if you can identify any parts that are regularly present for you. The most common protectors I typically see are people-pleasing parts and performer parts. But rather than be frustrated with yourself when you notice these parts, see if you can be curious and compassionate, or any of the other 8 C's, and engage with these parts to see what they fear or what their burden is. Side note, keep an eye out for my next video where I'll do a deeper dive into the ways curiosity can be a superpower. But acknowledging and being aware of your parts can be the first step towards building a relationship with them and working with them, rather than trying to fight them. To go back to my own example of the performer part that prevented me from making any moves on a YouTube channel, it helped to first acknowledge this performer part that didn't want to be rejected or disappointed in myself. After acknowledging, I was able to operate from a place of more confidence and see if this performer part was able to just do a trial run. My performer part felt comfortable with a trial run, and so I tried to make an agreement with myself and these parts to do a trial run of making a video per week for at least 6 months, and then reassessing, but with an ultimate goal of going for at least a full year before making any changes or deciding to stop this whole YouTube journey. It has taken me some time to develop a sense of trust with this performer part that I have, and now I'm able to more so try to work with it from a place that's helpful to me. Like I give it its performer part as a job, like PRN as needed, and I can call on this performer part because it's got some value on quality and like a perfectionistic almost tendency to it that I can appreciate in things like making YouTube videos and wanting them to be quality and wanting to learn how to get better each time. I think the process of fully unburdening exiles might be a little bit more than we have the scope or ability to cover in this video. But again, I'd recommend maybe checking out a book or trying to find yourself a therapist trained in IFS if this seems like something you might be interested in or might be helpful for you. So again, understanding and working with your parts rather than trying to get rid of them might be a helpful way to navigate some of the difficult things in your life. Thanks for watching. See you next time.